My name is Patrice Valentine. I am the owner of Profusion Web Solutions. We've been putting on these quick 30-minute weekly digital marketing breakdown seminars or webinars really since the beginning of the year in kind of an effort to make sure that we are available and willing to answer any and all questions that you may have regarding digital marketing. Things are happening so quickly, things are changing so quickly right now that we felt this was the best way to kind of get information out to as many people as we possibly could while answering questions and kind of giving you a lot of best practices. So today what we're going to be talking about is when clicks drop, conversions matter. We'll talk through kind of what I even mean by that as well. But we're going to talk through kind of, I think what maybe marketing kind of ignores a little bit is the actual conversion part of things. So marketing tends to be let's create this really glossy brochure, this beautiful website, or this, radio commercial. But once you create those, what do you want people to do? So that what you want people to do is actually the conversion part. When we're talking specifically about digital marketing, we look a lot at what we want people to do is go to our website and then take that next step. So the go to the website part is what we would talk about clicks. Right now, we are seeing clicks drop. We're going to talk through a little bit about why that's happening. And what we want you to end with today is looking at why leads even get lost. So if you are seeing maybe your number of clicks go down and your conversions just aren't happening at that same rate, reasons why your leads might be getting lost, how you can do a quick check to track and see if your leads are coming through or if maybe people are trying to get in touch with you and it's just not getting to you. And then how to meet buyers where they are. So you'll know what to check first, what to fix in order to stop losing the leads that you've already paid or that you've already worked for to bring them through to your website. Now, this is the quick note that I just added. So we're going to talk about a lot about why clicks are dropping, and I'm talking specifically in kind of an organic manner. So if organic clicks are no longer coming through to your website, that's what we're going to be focusing on. But I do want to say that if you are running ads in Google Ads, if you're doing email marketing, if you're doing sponsored social media, and you're noticing that your clicks are dropping, that might be a note to you to check your creative. Have you had a little bit of ad fatigue? Are you using the same ad over and over again, and people are just tired of it, so it's no longer being effective? Are you using outdated messaging? We're going into spring and summer, and if you're talking about winter still, maybe you're not hitting the right message. So quick note for this webinar is that we are talking specifically about organic clicks. So when someone searches for the products and services that you sell and where they used to maybe come to your website and they're no longer coming to your website, this is what we want to talk about is actually looking at the organics, not on running ads, email marketing, or sponsored social media. So I realize I've added that the box to this, and mark it as I didn't mark it as an animation, so it's just going to remain on there. So I'm going to modify my slide deck real quick and remove the box. So hopefully you see my slide now without the box. So let's talk quickly about why clicks are even dropping right now. We see it a lot across many industries. So it's not just local businesses, it's also businesses that have, online retail or online e-commerce. So we're seeing it kind of across the board. The clicks are down a lot because of the what we call zero click answers. So you can see on my screen right now, I did a quick search in Google for what is the best baker for wedding cakes in Bellingham. And I actually meant to type in bakery, but baker is what the typo was there. So you can see right at the top, I get the AI overview. So it's giving me those answers directly at the top there, gives me places to call, their locations. I also see if I continue to scroll down, there would be map results. So in Google Maps, I'd be able to see the same kind of information based on geography. And then also there are discussions and forums. So you can see at the very bottom there, you can see where there's a Reddit article. A lot of information is getting pulled from Reddit right now. So people aren't even necessarily having to click through to my website in order to find information about me. If there's someone talking about me or my company on Reddit, that information is going to get indexed as well as those AI overviews, the map results. Your Google business profile might show up again, either to the right-hand side or in maps as well. And then people looking at things like forums where they can find, previous customers, or they find some information about you that's being talked about by someone other than you. So by someone other than the actual business themselves. So all of these kind of new tools at the disposal of the user are making it so as a business owner, it becomes harder and harder to be the one that garners that click. On the screen right now, you can see that there's a bakery at the very top there that is getting recommended not only in the AI overview, but it's also this first result down here. That's the Saltadina Bakery and Cafe. So they're doing a good job right now of being referenced in the AI overview as well as in their actual organic listings right there. And then if you can kind of see down here in the Reddit information, you can see that the first one says, I would check with Slice of Heaven. And that's another one where if I had expanded on this show more right here, Slice of Heaven is the next one that is down on that list. So you can see there's a couple that are being mentioned in multiple places. And that's ultimately the win. You want to get mentioned in as many places as you possibly can. Some of them you have control over, like in the AI overview, you can do things to your website to make sure you're found there. Some of the things you don't have control over, like someone writing a nice review about you on Reddit. But your Google Business Profile will help with this, making sure that you get as much visibility as you possibly can for your preferred search terms. So this is typically why clicks are dropping across the board, is that all of this information from our websites, from our Google Business Profile, from our social media profiles, from Reddit, they're all being pulled into the AI overviews, and it's being shown there with the zero-click answers to where the user doesn't even need to go to your website in order to find that information. So when we look at this, when someone does come through to your website, the goal is a conversion. So I have that on the screen there is traffic is a metric, leads are the goal. So when we look at conversions, a conversion to you might be a phone call. A conversion might be someone completing your estimate form. It might be someone signing up for your newsletter. It might be someone asking for directions or clicking on the phone call button, or even just if you have a checklist that you have as a download. So the conversion can be different based on your company. It doesn't have to be someone did a purchase online where they're actually transacting online. A conversion for you can be something just like a phone call or a form completion, anything like that. If you're watching your traffic, so if you're seeing the number of people that are coming to your website in your Google Analytics, but you're not tracking conversions, that's where you're not getting a true picture as to if your website is being successful or if your web presence is actually helping you. What we're going to do today is help you tighten up the basics a little bit so you can tell what is working and stop losing those leads. The first thing we want to talk about is why leads even get lost. Most leads don't get lost because the marketing is bad. You were drawn to the website in the first place, so something in the marketing was working. They get lost because the moment that someone was ready to act or to take that next step, it's either unclear, they're not sure what to do. It can be annoying where there's maybe too much information that I have to fill out. Or if I have made the phone call, for example, and no one answered the phone, or I left a voicemail and no one got back to me, those are all the reasons why leads are being lost. So usually it's an expectation management, and then there's some confusion in there. So the website has maybe caused confusion by not having a clear call to action or too many calls to actions. Your form might be too long or broken. Again, the missed phone calls are not returned phone calls. So our goal today is to take a quick look at your website and at your phone call procedure or how you're handling phone calls, especially if you're not answering them live, and see if we can't fix some of that friction and uncertainty. The first thing we want to talk about is check your tracking. So before you change anything, before you go and modify all of your calls to actions, before you do, anything drastic at the moment, what we want to take a look at is let's just consider what your number one conversion is. So if we were talking about our website, the conversion that I would like the most is for someone to click on the request an estimate button and complete that form. That tells me that they're kind of, pretty far along in their buyer's journey and they're ready to, at least be close to doing business with us, right? They filled out that completion form. I know that not everyone coming to my website is ready for that, but that would be the number one conversion that I would want to make sure that we are receiving that data if and when that form is completed. So before you go into this, let's think about what is your number one conversion. And then, first of all, make sure that's pretty obvious on your website. So if someone goes to your website and you're number one, you're hoping people click on the request an estimate button, but it's buried in the content somewhere. That should be your number one fix, is make sure your call to action is incredibly clear. But so for our conversion is if someone fills out that form, we receive an email. They also get put into our CRM. So there's two different steps that happen there. So what I want you to think through is, what is your conversion? What do you do with that data? Where does that data then go? Then we're going to go through and actually verify that in real time. So make sure that it is actually working. And then if you can track and see where that lead came from, so did they come from an email? Did they come from an ads campaign? And then looking at, do you respond within a set amount of time, or do you set the expectation so people know, when to be able to hear from you based on the action taken on your website. If we're specifically looking at the emphasis on online forms, this is where we see the breakdown happen quite a bit in people that are coming to us for website refreshes or marketing help. They will have a form on their website that either goes to an old email address that no one is checking anymore, or the form is throwing an error and they don't test it on a regular basis, so they don't have any idea that this is happening, or the form data is going to spam folders. So they're not they it might be going to their email. They're the right person to receive the data, but they're not actually receiving the data from their website. And then the last one is people just don't log in to check and see. So if you have a website, you should be able to log into your website to be able to see the number of leads that have or the number of people that have filled out that form. So right now, or in 10 minutes, what I encourage you to do is go to your website. If you have a lead contact form on your website, whether that is a download PDF form, contact form, request an estimate, whatever it is, go to your website. I usually do this from my phone. So I usually take my phone and I go through because, first of all, obviously mobile devices are taking up a huge portion of the market of people that are coming to your website, but I want to make sure that it's easy to use on my device as well. So I usually go from my phone and I fill out everything on that form. And then we will look to see, does it reach the right person? So in my company, does it go to the right person based on the form that was completed? Do they get the user who's completed the form? Does the user receive either an auto reply or a confirmation message or both? So the auto reply might be they receive an immediate email back from me saying, hey, thanks so much for filling out our estimate form. You can expect to hear back from us within 24 hours or receive a phone call if we have more questions, or whatever my expectations are for that user. That's going to be in that auto reply, along with a copy of what they filled out so that they have an idea of what they put in that form as well. So that's included in the auto reply. And then that confirmation message on the screen, that's the other one where we're seeing a huge losses. I had a customer call, a potential customer, and she said, people are filling out our form like 5 and 6 times in a row. So we're getting the same message or the same email over and over and over again. And when I went to test it, what I noticed was, well, I filled out the form and I hit submit and nothing happened. It doesn't look as if anything happened. So there's no thank you page. There's no, message that pops up that says, thanks for completing our form. There was nothing telling me that I had successfully completed that form. So they were getting people filling it out multiple times, which good for the user for being persistent, I guess, but that's an annoying user experience. And again, we want to take away any friction, confusion, and make this a very clear process. On forms, the other thing we see is people asking for way more information than they actually need for that initial point of contact. There are some industries where this becomes a good idea. We can talk through that. So if you're a home builder and you're tired of people just kind of requesting quotes from you because they want to know how much their dream house is going to be to build and they're just wasting your time, you can add fields that, kind of at least grade the people that are coming into your website or the forms that are being submitted. So putting a quick question on there of what's your timeline to build within 3 months, within 6 months, or we're just looking. And that allows you to kind of prioritize if you get people that are like, oh, we're just looking. Obviously, you want to respond because you're building that relationship, but that might not be an immediate, I just got this lead, I need to pick up the phone right now because these questions are, immediate and urgent. So you can add things to the form that kind of help you gauge and grade the information coming in, but you do want to make sure you're not asking for social security number or whatever when that just isn't relevant to the information that's being submitted or the information you need to collect. And then always add expectations. So if it takes you 5 days to respond, put that in the confirmation message. If it takes you 24 hours, put that in the confirmation message, and then just make sure you're meeting or exceeding those expectations when someone is getting that information from you. So again, this will go and actually fill out your online forms, test them out, see what happens, see what that process looks like from a user point of view. I also like to occasionally have one of my friends or family members fill this out just to make sure that, as a business owner, we all understand our own jargon, right? I understand what I'm asking for when I say, what is your domain name? I know what I mean by that. I know what I'm looking for. But if a user is coming to the website and maybe that's something they've never heard before, and I'm asking that, and that's a required field on our form, that might be a point where they're like, I don't know what this means. I'm not going to fill this form out. So it is always fun to kind of have someone who's not in your industry, not in your same line of work, take a look at your form, take a look at your call to action just to make sure that it does kind of at least make sense to the layperson as well. Talked about forms. Let's talk about phone calls. Calls are the highest intent lead. So if someone is actually taking the time to pick up the phone or, push the button on their phone to call you, that is a high intent lead. A couple of checkpoints on this would be go to your website from your phone and make sure that your phone number on your website is a click to call. So I don't have to try and copy it. I don't have to try and remember it and then dial it, that I can literally just go to your website, click on your phone number, and my phone recognizes this is the phone number, and we're going to call that phone number now. So make sure it's a click to call. And then take a look at your phone call process. We have a couple clients who are small practitioners that don't have a front office. They handle both the seeing of patients and they handle the business management side of things. And so it was really hard because when someone's calling to make an appointment, our practitioners might be in a meeting or might be in a an appointment. So they didn't have the ability to answer in real time and get back to people right away. So they set the expectation when someone was leaving a voicemail, the expectation was set for what they can expect as far as a realistic callback time. So if your calls can't be answered, at least set the expectation and return the calls quickly. And then do take a look at, I know we've talked about this a lot. So if you've been on any of the other webinars, you've heard me harp on and on and on about making sure that your Google business profile is up to date, that it has all of your current information, and that all of your citations, so those name, address, and phone number that's out there across the internet about your business, make sure that they are all consistent. So make sure that no matter where they might be finding your phone number, that it's going to be a very consistent number. You can, if you are not sure if your phone number is consistent, go to scan.profusionwebsolutions.com, run a quick scan. It's going to show you in real time if there is an issue with how your phone number or your name or your address is listed. It is very particular. So make sure that your name is spelled correctly, your business name. Make sure that if your name is, let's just go back to one of our bakery examples. If your name is Slice of Heaven, and the business name actually has a capital O in of, make sure that that is typed out correctly in that scan. So it matches everything. So just make sure you have all the information in there correctly if you are doing a scan. So we looked at form fills, we looked at phone calls, and then we look at the ability, if you're looking at your calls to action, your call to action on your website, we want to make sure, and actually our whole webinar next week is about this. So we're going to go through this pretty quickly, but make sure that you have the ability to meet your buyer where they are. Not everyone is ready to buy now. So if you look at the buyer spectrum or where people are along the buying cycle, some people are just fact finding. They're just trying to find out some more information about who you are, what you offer, if you would even be a good fit. And then there's people who are ready to buy now. And it's your job to answer questions along that entire spectrum. It's your job to be able to try and collect information from people no matter where they are in that buyer's journey. So if they're not ready, have the ability for a checklist, a guide, have them sign up for your newsletter, create blog posts that are similar to like what to know before you hire a web developer, things like that answer questions about your company. And then at every point, have your call to action in there. So download our checklist, download, this guide that's going to help you. Whatever that not ready yet or education phase, give them the ability to opt in at that point. They might already be somewhat educated on what you offer and they're comparing prices, or they're looking to see how fast you work. They're answering questions. They're looking for your process. They want to look through your examples, your portfolio, looking at reviews. If they're in this stage and comparing, you want to make sure you have enough information on your website to answer all of those. So pricing, what affects pricing, FAQs, all of that. And then if they are in that kind of buy now, getting ready to buy now phase, make sure you can call, or you have the ability to call with that, again, click to call, a form for them to book an appointment, or a form for them to request a quote. So make sure you're capturing leads along that entire buyer spectrum. This is how you can capture no matter where they are, or no matter where they are, kind of if they're ready to commit or not. But you can get information from them so that you can market them. And if they're over here on the buyer's guide or on the buyer's journey, you can, kind of progress them along with additional information that's being sent out to them. This graphic made me chuckle. I was trying to include more graphics into my presentation, and in my PowerPoint, I looked for follow up, and this was the first graphic, and I was like, you know what? Sure, let's have some snails on the screen. Why not? But contrary to snails, in follow up, speed wins. So if someone fills out your contact form or your request an estimate form and they don't hear from you for a week, they've probably either forgotten that they filled out that form or they've already found a solution to their problem because right now things move very quickly. So if someone fills out your contact form, acknowledge that immediately. Again, with that auto response, that's one touch point. People know it's automated, so they get that, okay, this isn't an actual person that sat down to write me this email, but at least it acknowledges receipt of that information. Follow up with a phone call right away. Just say, hey, received your information. If you have any intelligent questions you can ask at that point, ask them at that point. Ask one question to continue moving the process forward. Are you looking to do this now or in the next 30 days? What is the goal that we can help you achieve? How would you know that this is successful if we're able to do X, Y, and Z? What would success look like to you? So ask that question to move it forward. And then keep it consistent. So whatever you do, as long as it's working, keep it consistent. So if it is, we set the autoresponder and then we follow up with a phone call for every single person that fills out our contact form. And we do that same day because we know that speed wins. So get your follow-up process. Again, this is one of those things where I said, this is going to be a pretty basic webinar. This is what I meant by this. If you went into business, you have to have a good follow-up procedure. You have to know that, when clients actually fill out that form, when someone is raising their hand and saying, I would like more information from you, following up and speed wins. All right. The goal of this webinar today, again, basic. It wasn't to make you feel like, oh gosh, I have to go redo everything. What we want to do is just make sure you kind of have the basics and the foundation in place. So after you get off this webinar in the next 5 minutes, go test your contact form. So go actually fill it out. If you have multiple forms on your website, fill out every single one of them. You don't know if there's a breakpoint at one of them. One of your forms might be connected to MailChimp or to your e-newsletter system, and maybe that one's broken. Maybe that API connection got disrupted. You changed your password, something happened where that's not being delivered any longer. So test every single contact form. Verify that the leads are going where they're supposed to go. That's your number two thing. Check your website, make sure your phone is tap to call. If not, that's a pretty easy thing to go in and change from your website developer. Make sure it's click to call. Make sure your phone number is also visible. Your contact information is all visible near the top of your site so people aren't having to hunt for it. If you only have a contact us call to action on your website, start thinking about what is something I could add to my website that would be a not ready. I'm not ready to buy yet. I'm not ready for an estimate. What's a not ready offer that I could add to my website? Start thinking about that. We're going to talk through that more in a week on next week's call. One very simple thing you can do is start setting those expectations. So add a we respond with an X or a number of hours, days, whatever it is on that form, on your confirmation when someone completes the form. Add the expectations. That is one simple thing that if you don't have that already, add the expectations right there. And then the little gold star on the screen is reply. Like my little goal for you would be to reply to one lead faster than you normally would. If you get a website lead today, reply to it today. If you normally think, oh, I can wait till tomorrow to do that, do it today and just see if that doesn't help speed up that process a little bit. Everything that we're looking at, visibility is going to be step one. So making sure you're found, making sure people can, find information out about you, either in AI, Google Business Profile, SEO, wherever they're looking, visibility is step one. Conversion is going to be your step two. So making sure that there is something for them to do when they get to your website. And then number three is going to be follow up. So making sure that you are getting to the person once they say, I'm interested to hear from you, make sure that you are following up and getting them that information. Most businesses, are fine with step one, getting people to at least know that they exist for the most part. But step two or three is kind of where we see people get lost without that conversion process and then not following up. So making sure that you are doing we've got the visibility part down, making sure that you are doing the conversions and the follow-up. And then if you take nothing else away from today, take away the test your website, test your conversions, test everything, simplify the process, clarify the offering. So what am I actually getting? So test, simplify, and clarify. Again, I've alluded to it a couple of times, but next week we are talking about the offer ladder. So having things if they're in the not ready stage, having things in there if they're in the clarify, finding more information stage, and then ways to kind of bring them along that ladder to where they get to the point where you are the obvious and natural choice, and that they want to then take the next step of, getting a quote or actually engaging in business with you. So the next step is going to be the offer ladder, and again, that one's going to be April 8th. Same format, about 20 minutes, 20 minutes of presentation, and then some follow-up Q&A. I don't see that any questions have come in. Again, I said this one was going to be basic, and I did not lie about that. It's doing the little things right and being consistent and tenacious in your follow-up is what is going to be the difference between you and someone who is passively working at their business. This is active management now, to where you're getting the visibility. And then if your website is doing its job, where it's bringing in leads, bringing in, people filling out the form, you then get to do your job where you offer the solution to the person who needs it. And then, we assume you're good at your job. That's why you're here. Okay. Thank you for being here. Again, we hope to talk to you on April 8th when we look through that offer ladder. Have a great day, everyone.